What's up, YouTube? Capital G here, D&O commentary. Okay, we have Will Ekins, 1329. Or 1324. I actually just played this guy. I beat him 2-1. Game one, I wrecked him with a turn one Black Rose off of Mathman. Game two, he got me, and then game three, I grinded it out. I dropped Denko, BLS, and Construct in one turn, and he had double Shadow Mirror, but he couldn't kill my whole field. All he had was Altier. He had the Altier play, and he couldn't kill all three of them because I guess all three cards presented different problems, so he couldn't kill them. And he's playing against Lex, 19, and a whole bunch of X's. All right, so this matchup, to me, it boils down to, ooh, that is a risky play because they play D-Prison. Although the good thing about Duels again in this matchup is you can bait out D-Prison so damn easily with L, and let's see if that's what he does here. And also with enemy controller. Like, battle traps have become, they've just become almost completely unplayable. That might actually have to be a video. Just because I still love D-Prison. It's still a fantastic utility card. The problem is everybody has like so many ways to get around it. All right, so it looks like he's going to attack with the Deneb. Now, he already committed his normal summon, so outside of like a fusion play, what else can you really do? And it looks like that's what he's going to do. Now, he activates Solemn Warning. Will Ekins, he had to burn it there. He was going to lose his Deneb, and he was going to lose his Deneb, and we were going to see a Construct. It was just going to be bad for him. If I'm thinking, if I'm Lex, okay, when I take your Deneb, I'm obviously trying to fuse you. But unfortunately for him, his opponent still has outs, and it looks like he's just going to get Exceed. Now, most Shaddolls, because the extra deck is so tight, you know, they run Castell is pretty much a given as far as the rank 4s go. I want to say Castell's the only staple as far as rank 4s go. He runs Giant Hand. Like every time I look at a different another player's Shadow build, for the most part, Genko Dolls, like there's not a lot of deviation. Like somebody showed me a really good build, and the only difference between his build and my build is I run a third Light Dragon, and he runs Glow Up Bulb. And I was like, how do you like Glow Up Bulb? And he was like, you know, it's pretty good. It works off Mathman. You know, the enemy controller plays with it are really good, just like the dragons. And you can go Shikinaga using Glow Up Bulb, and then you can make Star Eater, and that's an out the tower, so it's pretty good. But in general, I would say Castell best rank 4. You usually have about maybe 3-4 spots tops for Exceeds. It depends on if you run Phaelus or not, because if you don't run Phaelus, you're not going to run a whole bunch of synchros. Like, I don't run Armades or stuff like that. I don't feel like that card's necessary. Half of the time I'd be wanting to drop Goyo, but like Dweller is, you know, a potential. The Vobble Chain's potential. Digusto is potential. I run Cowboy. People can, you can call me bad if you want. There's so many times where off the econs, like there will be a play where you leave your opponent with a little bit of damage, and that can come in handy. All right, so you see Call of the Haunted, and then you see Altier. Oh, okay, I get what he's doing. He's going for Trevor. Or maybe not. Dude, he might actually be able to game him. Uh-oh. Shaddolls might get OTK'd here. Ladies and gentlemen, keep in mind, he has not used Altier's effect. That totally means, and this is how he gamed me. This is how he gamed me in game 2. He went into heroic, he went into Excalibur, and he beat the friggin' brakes off me, with that card. Now, I'm not a mathematician. I just run the card, so I don't know, what the damage is on board. Whatever the damage is, add 800 onto it, cause that's Cowboy. But if he really needs a Kickstarter, then he'll just go for, Excalibur. Like, he'll go for Heroic Champion Excalibur. And that's what it looks like. I mean, 4K, 6K, 77 is, if my math is right, that's 7,700. Don't nobody play Valor or none of that shit. So, looks like Denko Dolls just got a taste of their own medicine. And what's really gratifying, I hate to say it, but there's something very gratifying about knowing, about getting a huge damage play like Will Ekins just did, where you do, you know, almost anytime I would say 7,000 plus, I just consider that OTK, where you do huge damage and you use every single one of your cards, because it's like you needed every single resource that you had. Shaddolls do it all the time. I couldn't tell you how many times I go from 6 cards to nothing, and it just feels so good. And enemy controller, if you got ultra enemy controllers, holla at me. Like I'm trying to pick some up because that card is too damn good right now. But unfortunately for Lex, he gets his chest kicked in. Now Lex is he's going second. I like going second. Here's the odd thing about this matchup. Like, Shaddolls will pick second, and I think S-Knights are perfectly happy with that, because if you're playing S-Knights against Shaddolls, like, you need your Deneb early, and then you need it to die so that you can get the Altier train rolling. Because if you don't, it's like, if you go second, you know damn well your Deneb's not going to attack over anything. And I feel like it's kind of like Yugioh going second. It's like you're like 2 turns behind your opponent. Like a Shadow player, if they, you know, get like Beast and Falco, you know, like they get a Beast in the graveyard and Falco set, like, man, it's nothing you can really do about it. Now, Lexi is going for the Denko play. The problem with the Denko play, and a lot of times why I just hold on to my Denko unless I can, like, if I can't KO my opponent, it's like, fuck it, I'm not even gonna summon Denko, is if he has Rhoda, he basically has an out to your Denko. And then I guess you didn't technically spend your turn 1 advantage, because all he has to do is go Una. And then if he has like Call to Haunted, then you're in really bad shape. And there it is. There's his out the Denko right there, and there's nothing you can do to protect your Denko. Okay, so he's going for Vega. This can be risky for Will because I don't know if I agree with what Will's doing unless he has Snatch Steal. I was thinking unless he had Snatch Steal, I don't technically agree with what he's doing. The reason I would say that I don't agree with it, because with 6,300 life points and just a Deneb, Shaddolls can OTK you so easily. All it would take is for him to have a fusion and an enemy controller, and he'll get the game, because you can search. If you make Construct, you can search out what's that card? You can search out L from your hand. You know what I mean? If you don't use L, like 6,300 to go through a Deneb with Denko on board is too easy. Now I'm not sure about this though. He's going for an Xyz. The thing is, I don't know what makes any advantage. I would just instinctively think Dweller. And then he goes Dweller, okay. Because the thing is, if you go Dweller, at least you don't completely get blown out by the Shadow Fusion play. And I'm not so certain that Lexi, shut me up. I wasn't certain that he had, Shadow Fusion simply because of the way that he was playing. Usually if you have Denko, like you follow it up with a fusion immediately, unless you can't kill your opponent. Like if you have Denko Winda, it's so good against against S-Knight, it's not even funny, because it presents 2 different problems. Now he had the Vanities for the fusion, and it looks like the Vanities is gonna ride, and this can be really bad here. Especially if Will can turn off his, if he can turn off that Vanities with like a Rhoda or something like that, man, it might be good night. Now keep in mind, he only has Deneb, so, you know. I'm a little surprised whoa, he actually plays Honest? What? Okay. This duel just got infinitely more interesting. Because the thing, he actually had a way of protecting that Denko against an Una, so I guess I would have just got wrecked by, I probably just would have lost right there if I was playing S-Knights, because I would have went for Una. Well, I didn't know he had Snatch Steal, but I probably would have went for Una. I'd have dumped Deneb. I'd have attacked thinking, okay, I'm getting over it. I can call the Haunted and do my shenanigans, and I just would have got wrecked and then just lost. But, you know, the Snatch Steal changed things, definitely. So this game has surprisingly gone to a slow-paced state, which is not really the MO of Shaddolls at all. If you're Lexi, I don't know, actually, I guess you're looking for a Denko, just because you can crash, and you still have the Honest, so, I mean, your opponent would lose the Vanities, they'd lose the Abyss Dweller, and then you'd be able to, you know, like fuse and stuff like that. Now, interesting enough, what is he doing here? So he summons Vega, and obviously he can't use Vega's effect. This duel has come to a screeching halt. That is shocking. I mean, if you're Satellar Knights, you've got to be thrilled with that. Like, especially the fact that your opponent is using Honest, and it's a kind of a slow card, and it's eating up his normal summon each turn. Looks like he finally has something to kind of push the duel. Well, at least to make him burn the vanities. Will Ekans doesn't seem concerned. I guess he feels okay because it wasn't Denko, so he can pretty much expend all of his back row right now. I mean, yeah, if I'm Will Ekans, I feel good as long as I can survive this attack. And technically, no, actually, he doesn't need to survive the attack. Like, he doesn't need to use any back row on it, because you have to think about it, right? If that dies, he has Altair in his hand. The vanities will die. He can summon Altair. He can summon the Vega. He can detach, like he can detach the Dweller. I mean, he can detach his own Deneb, and then he can go into Trevor and just be sitting pretty. You know what I mean? If he gets rid of the Squamata, it's still good. Like, actually, I would suggest using D-Prison because, okay, he's not going to burn it. I was thinking your opponent basically couldn't, then your opponent couldn't use like L. They couldn't chain an L. You know what I mean? Like right now, I guess he can L him, and that would be a big play, but alright. So he has Shadow Fusion, and wisely Lexi decides to activate Dweller's effect. And I mean, nothing he sends gonna trigger, so. The problem here, if you're Lexi, well, let me read Dweller. I'm pretty sure Dweller is just monsters. He can send Core, and that'll trigger. Excuse me. Let me just make sure. Once per turn, any card effects, excuse me, nothing will trigger. Core won't trigger either, sorry. I was thinking that Core would trigger, but Abyss Dweller is not just monsters, it's all effects. So, unless he wants to load up his light or dark count, I don't really know that that's going to do anything. He sends Honest to his hand. Here's the crazy thing though. If he has Altair, he's in a position where he could potentially, go for like a really big XC play. Although now that Lexi is walling up, I don't know about that. Okay. He's going MST. I thought he might have an MST back there just because like he's been sitting on those cards forever. There's an L. Ideally, okay, so there it is. Now he's going, you can see he's going for Trevor. There's the Call of the Haunted. There's the Altair. And there's the Deneb to search for another Altair. Okay, so he's got that play going. And from here, Lexi's going to need a huge counter. Otherwise, he's going to drop Trevor, and it's going to be a wrap. Because he'll lose this. The back row will obviously go to his hand, and it just won't be good for him, basically. Unless if he has like an L, I guess, because he can get regular fusion back to his hand. Although technically that wouldn't work either, because all he has to do is chain Abyss Dweller, and then the construct won't trigger. Like even if you were to use L or something, the Abyss Dweller would stop construct from triggering. That's probably what I would just do right now. Although I guess maybe you want to save it because your opponent might try and chain to the Abyss Dweller and a fusion. No, but then again, they all go in different, they go in a separate chain. Alright, now I'm surprised he's only going for one XC. Maybe he's not thinking about Trevor. Maybe he's thinking about going into Castel for good measure. Okay, so he's going into 101 to get rid of Construct. I guess he's really trying to bait out any type of L's or, any type of plays that would let him use his construct, like an enemy controller or something like that. Never forget, enemy controller is a real card. I can't tell you how many times I've won with that card. So Construct is definitely, I mean, it's in danger of just dying for nothing. Cause keep in mind, if you think, oh, he can just, okay, there's enemy controller. Now you have to chain, yep, there it is. You chain the Abyss Dweller. So now Construct is not going to trigger. And I think Will was just baiting it out. I think that's all he was doing, is he was just trying to bait it out. So, I mean, okay. So he's going to take his Altier so that he can't get Trevor, basically. Cause you know that Will Ekins wanted to Trevor him. Not only would he take a card out of his hand, but then he'd be able to get his card Haunted back. Since he's under Abyss Dweller, it would stop him from, even like if he hit the Squamata, it wouldn't trigger because of Dweller. It would just be too much. Lex doesn't seem concerned. Although he's a lot calmer than oh my goodness. Yugioh. So he has double Call of the Haunted. Lexi, buddy, you better have an MST. Otherwise you're gonna get ramrodded here, dude. I promise you this. You better have something good. I guess he can have an L and he can chain, like he can go Winda into to make it so that that's his one special for the turn. If you chain on the Call of the Haunted, you can L with like Squamata and whatever, but none of that stuff's gonna trigger. Like you're in a piss poor position, bro. I can't see, because if he goes L now and he uses these two, he's just gonna cast L your shit. And here comes Trevor. I mean, I'm telling you, some people say I overhype. Trevor is that fucking dude. That card is fucking insane. Like, I think it is one of the, and he gets his Altier back too. He gets double Call of the Haunted. He gets these spun back. That looks like a bad thing. It's not. Now he can use them again later in the duel. He gets to attack for 21. He gets a card out of his opponent's hand. Even if his opponent does have a Shadow Fusion, he has Altier plus double Call of the Haunted. And he's losing the card. Like, Trevor is fucking just godly. If I had to list the top just 5 Xyz in the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! Right now, well, Dante would probably be 1, but like Trevor would be in the top 5 list. He's calling an effect. Okay, did you not forget that he just used Dweller? He used Dweller that turn, bro. You don't get no effects. Yeah, he used Dweller. That's where that play just was bananas. So right now it's obviously fusion or bust, and to be honest, I don't think a fusion will bring him back. So you see him use L fusion. Keep in mind it's also a Tellarknight, so he can Alpha Nova him. That's a real card too. He has Squamata, but Squamata is way too slow, and there's the Alpha Nova. He'll draw a card, and it's not looking good. Now he gets Altier, he'll get Deneb. At this point, he'll just start taking like Unas and stuff, and that's pretty much a wrap. That's how you kind of have to play against Shaddolls. Like, you have to play I mean, that game was maybe a little too grindy, but you have to grind the game down. Unless you hit Floodgates. Like, if you hit Shadow Mirror, then, just completely different. But in general, it's definitely not an unwinnable match. Very good game. Well played by Will Ekins.